Subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to never miss an update from Kautilya's Fincast.
Welcome to Kautilya's Fincast for October 16th to October 31st, 2020.
Let's begin with corporate news.
Net profit was 7.4% higher from 2,925 crore rupees, while the top line was higher by 4.2% from 17.841 crore rupees in June 2020 quarters, while an average of 15.25% increase quarter-on-quarter compared to third and fourth quarters. The cost of the acquisition, which is expected to close during the third quarter of financial year 2021, is up to $125 million. Acquisition is being undertaken by Infosys Nova Holdings, LLC, an Infosys subsidiary. Haldiram's data related to retail sales and inventory, HR, and payroll data hacked. The hackers have demanded 7.50 lakh rupees to decrypt the servers. OnePlus is set to invest 100 crore rupees towards expanding its offline retail network, as it looks to strengthen its reach in Tier 2 cities and beyond in the country. Tata Motors HDFC Bank partnership set to introduce two schemes, Gradual Step Up Scheme and TML Flexi Drive Scheme, to make its products more accessible and driving up sales in the festive season. The company's revenue during the quarter also fell 11.4% to 5,306.2 crore rupees, compared to September quarter 2019, but there was a 36.6% sequential growth. Airtel has tied up with global tech companies like the Japanese giant Rakuten, US-based cloud player Red Hat to develop products to power 4G and 5G networks, based on Open Radio Access Network. Ola to set up second center of such a kind, in Pune, and will hire 1,000 engineers over a few years. The center will cater to global and local solutions for all businesses of Ola. L&T has emerged as the lowest bidder for constructing the largest segment of the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project, the bullet train. The bid by L&T is 24,985 crore rupees to construct the 237.1 kilometers viaduct project. Britannia Industries Limited reported net profit growth of 23%, and its consolidated operating revenue grew only 12.1% year-on-year to 3,419.11 crore rupees, compared to its street expectations of 14%. India's new companies and MSMEs environment experienced a torrid time because of the COVID-19 pandemic. With incomes and activities getting affected for additional organizations, many ends up reducing expenses and some even closure incidentally. The proposed scheme is voluntary and taxpayers with an annual income of 10 lakh rupees or more may be incentivized to adopt a BPL family for a year with a specified amount of 5,000 rupees per month. The Department of Investment and Public Asset Management is ready to push ahead with the strategic sale of several PSU companies with bids and expressions of interest for BPCL, Shipping Corporation, Concor and BEML. Rockefeller Foundation announced around 40 crore rupees grant to Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms and Global Non-Profit Path to scale up COVID-19 testing in India. NTPC has been successfully innovating and introducing people practices in the domain of hiring, engagement, diversity and inclusion, rewards and recognition, and performance management. Serum has floated a new company, Serum Institute of Life Science (SILS), that will exclusively focus on developing, producing and supplying pandemic vaccines. Walmart Inc.'s Flipkart will buy a 7.8% stake in Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail Limited for 1,500 crore rupees $204 million, the fashion retail company, sending its shares up 6%. SEBI or Securities and Exchange Board of India ordered the Maharashtra-based milk and dairy products company Prabhat Dairy to deposit 1,292.46 crore rupees to an escrow account in a nationalized bank within 7 working days. Private banks with existing exposure are cautious because of the group's stretched financial situation. The holding company has already approached the banks for a one-time restructuring under the COVID-19 relief package. Uber will launch services in more cities like Agartala and expand its auto and moto offerings. Launched auto rentals in 6 cities like Delhi NCR, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bengaluru and Pune. Indian conglomerate Reliance has dismissed Amazon's push to delay its acquisition of domestic retail giant, Future Group. Minister of State for Civil Aviation, Hardeep Singh Puri had announced the launch of 8 new flights between India and Bangladesh, under the air bubble agreement between the two countries, starting November 5th. As part of a licensing agreement, Hero MotoCorp will develop and sell a range of premium motorcycles under the Harley-Davidson brand name. Walmart-owned Flipkart extended its lead over Amazon during the first week of online festival sales, fueled by a record number of first-time buyers and sellers from small towns. The sold-to software conglomerate has discussed taking up to 51% stake in the grocery retailer. AMD would buy Xilinx Inc. in a $35 billion all-stock deal, intensifying its battle with Intel corporations in the data center chip market. PPBL is also enabling automatic cashless payments at 211 toll plazas across the country and has become the largest acquiring bank under National Electronic Toll Collection Program. Lanco Infratech was created in 2006 to consolidate the 1960-founded Lanco Group's diverse operations under one brand. 12 years later, the same consolidation model resulted in a failed resolution and liquidation for the company. The dual listing, a first for Shanghai's Nasdaq-style Star Market and Hong Kong, would value Ant at about $312 billion, before a so-called greenshoe option for a 15% overallotment of shares. Fevicol maker Pidilite Industries has acquired a 100% stake in Huntsman Advanced Materials Solutions, one of American group Huntsman's subsidiaries in India, for a cash consideration of about 2,100 crore rupees. Inspire Brands and Corporations will buy Duncan Brands Group and Corporation for $8.8 billion, setting up one of the largest restaurants deals in years. As some in the industry think beyond the coronavirus pandemic, the company has frequently shifted its strategy around charging for music. Some of that increase came from viewer paying for YouTube TV, which lets people stream a package of cable channels for $65 a month.
Let's begin with market news.
Provisions and contingencies increased by 135.2% year-on-year to 592.06 crore rupees in the quarter ended September 2020, and the sequential increase was 50%. Mindtree Limited's second quarter numbers have been just about average. The stock of the mid-tier IT company dipped about 8%, but the shares are still about 100% higher compared to its March lows. The shares fell another 9% down. Chinese stocks touched an all-time high after 5 years. Capital is flowing to emerging markets and Chinese tech stocks could be the next big beneficiary of the lower US dollar. HCL Tech reported a 110 basis point improvement in the operating margin at 21.6% in the September quarter. It was the highest quarterly margin since the December 2014 quarter when it had risen to 23.8%. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has a piece of advice for the newcomers in the stock market. Inflation is like wolf in a dog's skin. RIL, TCS, ICICI Bank, and Bharat Airtel suffered losses in market capitalization during this week, while HUL, Infosys, HDFC, Kotak were the gainers. The adoption of the internet and fintech has ushered us into a new era, a digital age supporting financial inclusion cutting across demographics. Data compiled by NSE showed discount broking firm Zerodha had 24.70 lakh clients at the end of September, making it India's largest stock broking company, followed by Upsticks at 12.20 lakh. Mamaearth is seeking a valuation of 2,000 crore rupees, with existing investor Sequoia Capital set to invest an additional $20 to $30 million, about 150 to 200 crore rupees. The finance minister held a virtual meeting with secretaries of coal and petroleum and natural gas, along with the chairman and managing directors of 14 CPSEs belonging to these ministries, an official said. Share of Indian two-wheeler makers Hero MotoCorp, Bajaj Auto, TVS Motor and Royal Enfield has increased to 69.3% from 64.8%, whereas share of Japanese bike makers dropped to 30% from 35% in the same period. The stock jumped over 6% ahead of its board meeting. Stock rose by 6.18% to reach its record high of 2,678 rupees and 80 paise on the BSE. Company's market valuation jumped to 1,03,012.43 crore rupees on the BSE. The IPO had received bids of 7.7 crore shares, which included a fresh issue of shares, worth 208 crore rupees and an offer for sale of 7.2 crore shares, being sold in the price band of 32 rupees to 33 per share. home loans by as much as 150 to 200 basis points in the last year alone, with the central bank reducing the benchmark repo rate by 115 basis points and most banks linking their interest rates to the repo rates. Company has recovered its business in the past 3-4 months, but it's below 50% in comparison to pre-COVID. ESOP's pool expanded by adding 24.1 crore rupees. Migration from India to OECD countries increased sharply by 10% and reached 3.3 lakh. Migration from India represents about 5% of the overall migration to OECD countries. The bank's advances grew 1.5% compared to June to 1.66 lakh crore but was still lower than the rupees 2.24 lakh crore peak a year ago. Foreign investors have bought a net $6 billion of Indian shares, the only inflows to an emerging Asia market outside of China. Shipping stocks including GE Shipping, Essa Shipping, and Reliance Naval rose by 2% after government amended licensing norms to boost the local shipbuilding. This comes just days after the company received approval from DCGI to conduct Phase 2 and 3 trials for a reworked protocol of a COVID-19 vaccine. Indian markets skid over 1% on Monday over global concerns. The BSE Sensex was down by 540 points, or 1.33%, and NSE by 162 points, or 1.36%. Chinese fintech company Ant Group is set to raise $34.5 billion in its IPO in the coming weeks. It'll be the world's largest IPO, surpassing Saudi Aramco's IPO where the oil company raised over $29 billion. Some brokerages have upgraded Nestlé India, as its net profit for the September quarter exceeded estimates, but consensus ratings are largely mixed, and revised target prices indicate a limited upside in the stock. Asian stocks fell on Tuesday, as investors were unnerved by the soaring global coronavirus cases, that dampened the recovery outlook, and slow progress on a US stimulus deal. After private lender Yes Bank NSE -2.72% unveiled September quarter earnings last Friday, the scrip has created buzz among Dalal Street's investors. The bank has been able to reverse the tide and showed slight improvement in asset quality. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, backed Nazara Technologies, is planning to hit the primary market soon. The Mumbai-based mobile gaming company informed its shareholders about its IPO plan in a letter earlier in October. The expiry of monthly derivative contracts, coupled with a mixed set of quarterly earnings, kept the market volatile. However, selling in HDFC Twins, Larsen & Toubro, HUL, and Axis Bank dragged the benchmark indices down for the second straight session. Indigo is set to move towards its new all-time high, while SpiceJet has absorbed selling pressure around higher levels. The share price of DLF gained 3% ahead of the firm's Q2 earnings today. The stock has gained after 5 days of consecutive fall. The stock touched an intraday high of 157 rupees and 70 paise, gaining 2.94%. With the US presidential elections near, investors must gear up for any shock movements in equity markets across the globe. Morgan Stanley carved out 4 possible outcomes: Democratic takeover, Trump returns, no man's land, straightaways, and detours. Laurus Lab Limited plans to spend as much as 15 billion rupees over the next 24 months. Its stock has been surged 350% so far, the second biggest gain in healthcare index. After struggling near the 12,000 to 12,025 zone for 2 weeks, Indian equities finally gave in amid global weakness, and ended the week on a negative note with a net loss of 287.95 points, or 2.41%.
Let's begin with economy news.
The Reserve Bank of India will conduct the first ever purchase auction of state government bonds for an aggregate amount of 10,000 crore rupees through open market operations. Mutual fund industry body, AMFI, said it has not sent any proposal to SEBI for launching a new benchmark index or capping any stock in the index. The industry will continue to adhere to SEBI guidance for a single stock. Indian Bank has put in place a digital platform for restructuring all retail loans, allowing the borrowers to submit recast requests on the portal, and check eligibility criteria. The US Federal Reserve rolled out a new monetary policy approach and continued battling a recession, which would ramp up its bond purchases to further boost the economy. But the economy has stubbornly flashed a different signal. The government issued a clarification that it allows up to 26% foreign direct investment in the news digital media sector through the approval route. It explicitly covers aggregators. HEX is designed as a certificate of deposit on the blockchain network. It has been deemed to be the fastest appreciating asset on the globe. Signs of recovery for India's troubled shadow banks have taken a step backward, as concerns re-emerged about the true impact of the pandemic on the lenders. Franklin Templeton MF shut 6 debt mutual fund schemes, citing redemption pressures and lack of liquidity in the bond market. India is neglecting bank recapitalization, as it focuses on debt moratoriums and interest waivers for borrowers. Concentrated efforts by the bank and other stakeholders for concessional credit to the farmers led to the achievement of the credit limit of 1.35 lakh rupees crore, sanctioned under a special saturation drive under the KCC scheme. At over 100 traffic signals across Delhi, environment marshals and traffic police officials will urge drivers to turn off their ignition as they wait for the light to turn green. A steady recovery in the manufacturing sector helped India climb 2 notches to the 3rd position among key emerging markets. Government permits all overseas citizens of India, persons of Indian origin card holders and other foreign nationals to visit India for any purpose, except on tourist visa. RBI is constantly trying to be innovative in announcing measures to boost liquidity and to aid economic recovery while following counter-cyclical policies in sync with the fiscal policy. RBI set a 3-month deadline for mortgage lenders to submit a board-approved plan to meet these criteria, along with a timeline for transition. If the minor child is suffering from any disability of any nature specified under Section 80U of the Income Tax Act, the income cannot be clubbed. If the return is filed later than December 31st, a late filing fees of 10,000 rupees is payable. However, amount of late filing fees to be paid cannot exceed 1,000 rupees, if total income does not exceed 5 lakh rupees. The target for debt resolution during Q2 had been 8,800 crore rupees, which the group missed by a wide margin of 7,300 crore rupees. Finance Ministry said employees can avail the scheme utilizing the applicable LTC fare without leave encashment. India's sovereign external debt to GDP is at less than 5%, among the lowest globally, and thus, supporters of the plan argue, it would be easy for the government to service the borrowing. According to Sohanlal Bandari, Chairman, Nashik District Onion Traders Association, traders from Nashik district will not be able to purchase onions from farmers until they can sell onions being held by them. Money in the hands of the working population, that has strived more than the usual due to pandemic, especially during the festive season, is bound to increase spending. RBI issued direction to all lending institutions to implement provisions of scheme for grant of ex gratia payment of difference between compound and simple interest to borrowers in specified loan accounts, and take necessary action. The Ministry of Finance has said that after crediting this amount, the lending institutions would claim reimbursement from the central government. India's economy picked up speed in September, as a revival in demand and business activity helped drive the South Asian nation toward recovery from the pandemic-induced slump. Finance ministers in fact issued that loans against FDs, bonds, shares, or other interest-bearing instruments and loans given for investment in financial assets such as shares and debentures will not be covered under the scheme. The government had set a minimum investment limit of 400 crore rupees for companies to avail benefits for setting up a unit to manufacture 4 fermentation-based bulk drugs, including penicillin G and erythromycin thiocyanate. The strain on the centre's finances continued to arise from a sharp fall in total receipts at 5.7 lakh rupees crore, representing 25% of the budgeted amount, as against 40% achieved till September of the previous fiscal. Data from the Controller General of Accounts revealed that there is a sharp fall in total receipts, representing 25% of the budgeted amount as against 40% achieved till September of the previous fiscal. The Commission finalized its recommendations after wide-ranging consultations with the union, state, and local governments at different tiers, its advisory committees, members of previous FCs, and various domain experts. Switzerland's central bank is listed on the stock exchange, and given its huge balance sheet, swings in asset prices have a big impact on its results. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister, Shanti Dhariwal, introduced the Essential Commodities Bill 2020, the Farmers' Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020, and the Farmers' Produce Trade and Commerce Bill 2020.